Oh, what's up, bro? Two-game column, 3 splash.
Realistic.
You say something?
Alright, Jake, I'm about to take a nap.
Alright guys, welcome back to another J.O.P video. It's been a couple days since my last post, but not as long as my other breaks has been. But I am back today talking about Fear Street movies once again, but I am going to be ranking all of them. Not just talking about Fear Street Prom Queen, which just recently came out not too long ago, but I'm going to put them out all on the table and pick ones which I like better, which ones I like worse. You know what rankings are, and that's what I'm here to do. So, I mean, let's get right into it. Now, obviously, number 4 comes in Fear Street Prom Queen. I mean, I had a video on this, so if you watched that, I'm guessing you already knew this was going to be last. And it was just felt like a cash grab at the Fear Street IP. The first trilogy were very well done. There was a story narrative between those 3 movies, and this is just kind of an addition. While saying that, it also kind of doesn't feel like an addition. Now, I've never read the book, so I don't know what type of feelings this has, and I know that the original trilogy isn't like based off certain books, while this movie actually is. And that's maybe why it's a different feeling, but still, that doesn't give it a right to be a bad movie. This one's just about basically a outcast girl is trying to make her voice be heard. So she signs up for prom queen, and she's going against all these plastics or these popular girls in her high school, and then all of a sudden, a serial killer or a masked murderer starts killing these prom queen candidates one by one, and that's basically the plot of the story. And I mean, the characters in this, they're just not well done. They're one-dimensional. I said all of this in my previous video, but like the jerk is just the jerk. The horror nerd is just the horror nerd. Outcast girl is just kind of the outcast girl and has the storyline or the arc that I've seen a million times done where she is wanting to become one of these plastics, but with her personality. But obviously, her personality switches into basically just becoming one of those mean girls herself. And we've just seen it like way better in other movies that actually know how have a story relevance to it, I guess. Because I feel like, yeah, she was running for prom queen, but how relevant is that to the story? They don't really focus in on why that was really important to her, or at least they didn't make it feel important. Nothing was really important throughout this movie. I was just watching it, and I was like, oh, I don't care about if this character dies. Oh, I don't care if you die. Oh, the main character's in trouble. I mean, to be honest, I have no interest in whether it's a good or bad ending. So, I mean, yeah, a bad ending would just have me more give me more to talk about. I just wasn't really interested in it halfway. I was watching and I was like, okay, this movie's really bad and really cheesy to an extent where it's not even just like fun bad. It's just bad. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I will have a lot better things to say about the other movies. But, I mean, to give it credit, like I said, a couple things I did like about the movie. There wasn't too many, like, 80s nostalgia thing, and I don't think that should be a huge factor into the movie. But when you're making a movie that takes place in a different time period, I feel like you should have more fun with it, add a couple more unique things to that time period that we really don't experience nowadays. I mean, like, they didn't really make it a big focus of them not having phones. Of course, there's this one part where, like, a character got locked into something. I was like, why didn't you just use your phone? And I was like, this movie's based in the 80s. And I completely forgot about that because they don't really showcase that. And like I said, it's not like you need to make it a big factor in your movie. It just, I mean, come on. It's in the 80s. You could show a couple more things, do a couple more unique things, and not just show, Phantasm 2 on the movie theater. I have a couple shots from 80s movies, which those are the things I do enjoy about it, but they don't do it a lot. So, yeah, I mean, this is the weakest movie by far out of the trilogy. And like I said, maybe if I wasn't so high on the original trilogy, that this movie might be a little better, but this was just a terrible failure in my opinion. So, I mean, let's just go and move to number 3. All right, so let's just get on and start talking about a way better movie than the last one. And number 3 is going to be Fear Street Part 3, 1666. Now, I said 16. It is that. I was right. But this is basically the conclusion to the trilogy, the last movie. And I just want to say this off the start before I go rank the other movies as well, because this is like a good thing I have to say about every one of them. They have like a self-contained story in all 3 of these movies, and that's what I really enjoy. Now, I feel like this is kind of the weakest self-contained story throughout the trilogy. Not saying it's bad, but yeah, I mean, I understand it because in this movie, we go back into the past, 1666, after Dina, the main character, kind of found Seraphir's bones, her nose bled on it, and Seraphir gave her the vision to understand what she's trying to do throughout the series, because obviously we've only thought she was going to be the main bad guy. But as it takes us into the past and it shows us what she went through. Now, while doing this, it also connects to our main character, Dina, which is very interesting because it shows that they kind of are the same person. They have a connection in a way. Seraphir was also in love with girls, just like Dina is. And she had this relationship that was not wanted by like any of the villagers or anything. And basically, if they were found making love, these 2 girls, they would be hung. So it plays off of that, and we learn how Seraphir like gets her witch name, just because, I mean, she makes a move with this girl, and then kind of the village starts getting bad luck, like rotten produce. They can't farm correct. All the animals are acting up. There's a scene where this pig ate all her babies that she just birthed earlier in the movie. And so, yeah, obviously someone saw Seraphir hooking up with this girl, which made everybody start freaking out and kind of pinpointed that was the witchcraft. While we learned that Solomon Good, a ancestor of, Sheriff Nick Good, he actually is the one kind of doing witchcraft. He's just tired of his life being shitty. His wife and kid has passed away. He's kind of broke, and he wants that good fortune to come to him. Well, he obviously goes to the devil to get that and has to kind of trade souls. Now, that part was very interesting about it, but it wasn't a kind of like a Fear Street movie. Yes, they had the first possessed guy or whatever with the pasture and the cutting out of the children was grotesque. I'm happy we didn't watch any children die, but it was just like a 5-minute scene throughout watching Sarah Fear's life. And now this movie's like an 85% for me, right? So whatever I say is bad, it's not bad, but I think could have done better. And I just feel like this is the weakest self-contained story. And that was obviously before we jump to the present, because after that, there's still like 30 minutes of the movie left. It shows another title screen, and it's Fear Street 1994, Part 2, to obviously just conclude that story. And now, obviously, we have Christine Berman, or Ziggy, who we met in Part 2, and I will talk about her later. In this movie, I don't know, right? Because she comes to the realization that Sheriff Nick Good is bad. And I feel like it should have taken her way more time to like believe that, because she instantly believes it. I know we don't have much time of the movie left to get that done in a reasonable way, but I feel like there should have at least been like 10 minutes of her kind of deciding like, no, it couldn't be. And then they were obviously explaining everything, how they're basically getting hunted down by Sheriff Nick Good at the time. But they kind of just skip over that. They show up back at Ziggy's house and they're just like, Sheriff Nick is bad. And she believes it. So yeah, that could have just been done better. But let's just talk about the good. Obviously, these characters that I've been following through some of like these 3 movies, I enjoy. I enjoyed Dina's character. Sam's character a little less, but I really do enjoy Dina's character and how she's like, oh, I care so much about Sam. And this movie definitely like solidifies like me, like, oh, believing that's the way she felt, and like how much trouble she wanted to go into just to bring Sam back for her. I find it kind of believable, as a person that doesn't really know anything about love or anything like that. It kind of got to my heartstrings to a point. But yes, of course, Josh is just a fun character, and this at the end of this movie brings back the character, the janitor that we saw from the first one. What a dog! He is a dog. He's one of my favorite characters just because he's funny. He's not like a real fleshed out character or anything, but he's just fun to watch. So, on to the next one. Also, by the way, I urge you guys to watch these 3 Fear Street movies if you haven't. Great trilogy, top tier horror trilogy. Now on to the next one. One more thing, I actually wanted to talk about Sheriff Nick being bad. Honestly, it was a cool twist, but he went from being like a nice guy to a bad guy, like boom, 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 boom. Because Dina went back to the bones of Sarah Fear, and right when Sheriff Good sees their car, he's like, hey, what you guys doing out here? And then, like, basically, like, pulls his gun. Like, I'm guessing he knows that's where she's buried, but if he knows that, why don't you just, like, move the bones? So that Sarah Fear couldn't come in contact with any other person again to find out the truth of, your misfortunes, or I guess whatever, your bad doings. Creating these fortunes for yourself. But yeah, it's just like, it was just kind of a weird switch. I thought he was gonna be like a passive aggressive bad guy. Nah, like last 30 minutes of the movie, he was kind of like menacing to a point before this, but he wasn't. He's just not now like go mode. You know what I'm saying? I was like, which is kind of understandable. He's got to kill the kids before they find out the truth, and then kind of destroy the curse that has been happening for generations. Like centuries, basically. So yeah, let's go. Now number 2 is Fear Street 1994. Now, these top 2 movies in my rankings are at least like 90% love. Like, the first 2 movies are so crazy good. Like I just said, the third one's pretty good, 85. Not that 90 range, not yet. I might fall in love with it. You know how your taste changes when you kind of like grow up. I'm grown up, but as time changes, your taste also changes. But right now, it's at number 3, and this is at number 2, and this is obviously just the introduction. Let's just talk about it like good right now. The characters are just fun. You have Josh, which is Dina's brother, as I mentioned before. He's just a funny, nerdy kind of guy, shy, doesn't really know how to talk to females. Kind of reminds me of myself. Maybe that's why I like him so much. I mean, he's just that humorous guy that you need in some usual horror movies. You need at least one comedic element. Obviously, that's not the case for every movie. Some horror movies, it can just take me out. Just like Insidious: The Red Door, that girl college roommate that Dalton had. It was she just took me out of the movie because that just didn't make sense for an Insidious movie. But for a Fear Street movie, kind of targeted towards younger audiences, or at least around my age, yeah, we do enjoy that comedic factor. Now, obviously, we got Dina, like I said. It took me a little time to warm up to her, but I really did, especially in this second rewatch. I liked it way better, how her life's just kind of unraveling, and she's stuck in this shitty-ass town. And she obviously knows about the curse and kind of plays into it just like everyone else. Not as deep as everyone else, though, because she doesn't believe in Sarah Fear until, everything actually starts working. But along those side, too, you have Simon and Kate, which are Dina's best friends. Kate, which is kind of like the popular cheerleader girl, but she also has a kind of a nice thing, or a nice personality, nice attitude. I'm trying to find the word towards Josh, Dina's brother in this movie. That's kind of makes it a little sweet. She's a sweet character, but obviously she has this funny like side hustle to sell drugs because, like I said, a lot of people in this town is just broke. They ain't got no money. It's been cursed for I don't know how many years. I don't want to do the math in my head right now. So yeah, she's doing her own thing, and then obviously you got Simon, which is just another decently funny character. He's kind of an asshole jerk, while also having an arc of learning how to like care for his friends and everything. And yeah, I mean, these characters, like, they're not too fleshed out, they're not well too fleshed out, but they are fleshed out enough for me to like them and kind of sympathize with them while I watch them die. And this is like one of the only movies that actually like lets me do that. I won't say like one of the only, well, it is one of the only movies, but it's not the only one because there is like a scene in the next movie I will talk about that really made me care for the characters. So yeah, that's what this movie actually did, made me feel emotions, and that's amazing because I love when movies do that. It kind of takes me out of reality, puts me in their story, like puts me in their eyes, and I love when movies do that, where I'm basically just watching the movie and kind of living through it. If you understand what I mean. I know not everybody does that while watching movies, or puts their brain into a character's, but that's something I do, and that's how I get really emotionally invested in the characters, especially TV shows. Like, TV shows will make me yell at the TV. They'll make me cry. Like, it's crazy. I haven't really experienced a movie that will make me do that yet, but I bet there will be one soon. Or maybe if I rewatch a childhood movie, I might feel that way. You know what I mean? But right now, I mean, nothing really makes me feel that way, but this is one of those movies that does get me really emotionally invested, and I was laughing out loud at a couple scenes. I had a big smile on my face watching this movie again, and I just had a very fun time, very enjoyable. So yeah. Now, I will say, like, the end of this movie is kind of the weakest part about it, just because it kind of has, like, the die again and come back theory where, if you fake kill a character where their heart stops, and then if you bring them back, it stops the curse. We've seen that done millions of times, and it just not work. And of course, it doesn't work in this movie either. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to kind of nitpick a couple bad things to say about this movie. Because I don't, obviously I don't want to just be talking about the good, because this movie does have its flaws, and I'm trying to bring that out. I honestly, Nick Good is an alright character. I didn't really like him as good or evil, to be honest, like I said previously, just because he's there. You know what I'm saying? He's not really the biggest character. Yeah, he does get his screen times, and they do make that, when he's on TV, they make that an important scene in a way. They kind of make sure that you're watching that TV, kind of getting hints and clues oh, he's getting everything he wants. Why is that? And that is kind of cool when I look back at it. But he's just there and kind of dismissive. And why he's dismissive. But then it gets to the point where he drops a note in Ziggy's door. And I don't really understand that, especially after knowing who he is, what he does. And I mean, I kind of get it after their relationship in the second movie, but I mean, it just doesn't really make sense. Yeah, I know you don't want us to know that he's doing this, but just give him more realistic things to do, because obviously, why would he tell her it's happening again if he knows why? You know what I'm saying? But let's just get on to number one. You already know what it is by now. Alright, and now, number one, of course, Fear Street Part 2, 1978. Now, this is a great movie, and this obviously takes place at a camp. It kind of gives you that camp slasher feeling, you know what I mean? Like a Jason. And I really enjoy that. It's a very fun part of the movie. Of course, our main characters, Cindy Berman and Ziggy Berman, which turns out to be Christine, is her name that we learn at the end. But this is kind of a story about just two sisters, comes from the same home, the same shady side. One of them is trying to be so perfect that maybe the curse won't touch her, and that she'll be able to live her life, maybe go up to Sunnyvale one day and live there. While Ziggy is obviously the pessimistic one, where she's like, we're cursed. There is no getting out of this. This is a shitty place. We're here. You just got to deal with it. And obviously they argue about that. And that's the biggest point, and that's the biggest thing that breaks them apart, is because they just have two completely different views on this world. So that's very good to watch, these sisters, and obviously having to come together because of this tragedy that's happening around them. Now, let's just talk about the tragedy. My favorite one, how I said it was it had self-contained stories. This is my favorite self-contained story. The first one was kind of the whole movie. This one, the whole movie as well. The third one's the only one where it's kind of 75% of the movie, 70%. But yeah, we watched somebody transform this time. We watched the process happen, how this normal, completely cool guy, basically just sweet virgin guy they make fun of him for, turn into a psychotic murderer, just like that, a snap of a finger. And that was super cool to watch that happen. They find the names on the wall before Tommy starts murdering people, and then Alice, which I'll get to her character later, but she is just this druggy character. She looks at a wall, or a name, one of the names on the wall, and she sees that it's Tommy. And then 2 seconds later, Tommy grabs a axe and just slams into somebody's head. Another character's, which is just a druggie. I mean, he's just kind of the throwaway kill character. Alice's love interest, which I'll explain Alice now. Alice is kind of just a druggie. But now normally I really wouldn't like those characters, but she is fleshed out like decently well. She's like, we have our own ways of dealing with this curse of shady side, and her way was getting out of reality, using drugs, and obviously previously hurting herself, which is kind of sad on like, and it is like about the real world too, how people handle the real world situations differently and they come out different. It is a very good representation of that, how all these people are dealing with the curse of shady side in their own ways. The people we are watching, obviously, they have tragic stories, but the other people in this town also have tragedies that just aren't explained. And that's a very good part of this story. I don't know. It just fleshes out shady side. It gives you an understanding that everybody in this town is going through something. Like nothing good is happening in this town. And that's all to do with the goods and the curse and the deal with this devil. And it's none of their fault. It's just shitty. Makes you feel really bad for these characters. And as I said, you watch like Cindy Berman. She is basically, like I said, a preppy girl trying to get out of shady side, and then you see her like come to a realization, and then she's like, oh wow, like this place is cursed. I was just trying to be so perfect, but now that I can even see like there is no being perfect enough where I can outrun this curse. And obviously that realization makes her come closer to her sister, and then really wants her to like keep her sister alive. She wants to save her sister. So that's her reason, and she's stuck down in this cave, so she wants to get out to do that. And obviously we have young Nick Good. This was my favorite like character of Nick. It's kind of Ziggy's love interest. Obviously the popular Sunnyvaler to be sheriff, Nick Good, falling in love or having a thing for the weird old girl in shady side, Ziggy. And yeah, it's a cool story, and it kind of fleshes him out, how he describes like he wants to do other things, but because of his family's name, he's stuck to this. Now, they did a good job with that, about him talking about his family and things without really kind of spoiling that he's the reason that this is happening. Even when he says, I know I let people die tonight, but I won't let you die. Like that's hidden in plain sight right there. Like he literally said what he's doing. I've let a lot of people die tonight. Why would you say that? Why would you phrase it like that unless if you're the one doing the killings technically? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, very sneaky for the movie, and I really enjoy those parts. And honestly, like I can nitpick a couple things about the other movies, but this movie, I don't know. Other than obviously the bullies are bullies, but that's every movie kind of just needs an evil character so we can cheer when they get axed. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, though, the bullies are part of Sunnyvale, and if you know this series, Sunnyvalers do not die.
All right, and one last thing is, I just wanted to talk about, of course, both of the main characters, Ziggy and Cindy Berman, and how I said before, I actually cared about the characters that died. Mainly is the character of Cindy Berman. She is one of the main characters throughout the older sister, and she does end up dying. Technically, both of the sisters end up dying, but Nick Good doesn't allow Ziggy to die. And I guess it's a bittersweet ending, knowing Nick's kind of the bad guy at the end of this. But, it is sad to see the older sister die, because all she wanted is to see her sister live. She sacrificed herself, and kind of for nothing, because the sister only survived because Nick Good was there. But yeah, this movie is just full of goods. It's really hard to pick a bad. So, yeah. So guys, that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, just leave a like, leave your comments down below, because I want to know what you think about it as well. But yeah, if you like the content I provide overall, just subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. But yeah, have a great time until I post again. See ya.